The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 155.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the EL. Today we have Michael Moshiri, author of Never Chase Clients Again. And this was one of my favorite interviews. Actually, I gotta be honest with you, the before and the after the actual episode is one of the favorite conversations I've ever had. And Michael has given me some pushes in some different areas and really helped me out with what I'm looking to do in the future. So phenomenal book to read, but I gotta tell you, excellent guy as well. And so I'm excited for you to hear him. And so let's bring him on. Welcome, Michael, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
It's my pleasure to be here, Wade.
Before we take a deep dive into your book, Never Chase Clients Again, will you take just a moment to introduce yourself? Tell us just a little bit about you personally.
Sure. I'm Michael Moshiri, and for the past 20 years, I've spent my days working in the industry of consulting. And I've worked with lots of firms. I've worked with big four firms such as Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and PwC. And I've built and raised from nothing a national boutique consulting practice myself, and I've also worked with some mid-sized firms. So I've seen it all in my career as a consultant.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing that first off. And now let's jump right into your book that we were just talking about, Never Chase Clients Again, which was just made available for purchase a couple of days before we're actually recording this. So January 19th, 2015. And Michael, we're going to move quickly, but our whole goal here today is really to cover the top questions that our listener/future reader would like to get answered. And the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing this book?
That's a great question. And as I said, I've spent a great deal of my career, actually the majority of it, in the world of consulting. And one of the things that is the most critical function for any consulting, and regardless of what industry you're in or who you serve, the most critical function is finding highly qualified clients. And in the time that I've spent in the world of consulting, I've recognized that there are two types of people. The first, the types of people that jump on lead generation strategies that are the most popular or the hottest at the moment. And there are those who use tried and true methods that help them find highly qualified clients. Unfortunately, as with anything else that's sort of the hottest, most popular, a lot of the strategies people use are unpredictable, unreliable, and uncontrollable methods. For example, traditional networking or content marketing and social media campaigns. And unfortunately, that first group who jumps on the most popular thing at the moment is the larger group of the ones that I've witnessed. And unfortunately, people spend a lot of time, they waste a lot of time trying to reinvent the wheel. The truth is that consulting has always been and will always be a business that's primarily based on personal and business relationships, and there are really no ways to shortcut that process. So I wrote the book to share a system that I've developed for finding highly qualified clients by leveraging that fact, not simply trying to circumvent it with the hottest, newest methods that are out there, and really bring in that tried and true system to offer people an alternative to those other fad methods, if you will, or the hottest method of the day.
And what would you say, you've gone into this a little bit, but what makes your book different from others regarding the same or similar topic?
Well, I think what makes this book very unique is that it takes a unique approach that really requires no social media campaigns, no content marketing, and it has no online lead generation methods or practices in it. At the same time, it's presenting a reliable, predictable, and repeatable system for finding, reaching, and connecting with consulting clients in any industry.
So, Michael, how would you suggest the reader engage with your book? Is this a book that you designed to be read from front to back, or can a reader jump in and jump out based on the information they need at that point?
This book is designed, it's actually got 3 parts. And so the way to approach it is to look at it in parts. The first part 1 of the book, provides a foundational knowledge that anyone who's in consulting needs to ensure their success in implementing the system that's outlined in part 2. And then part 2 provides them with a 5-step system for finding, reaching, and connecting with those highly qualified clients. And then lastly, part 3 builds on parts 1 and 2 to help them become more effective and efficient in implementing the system and the strategies and the principles that are outlined in the book. So the way to approach the book would be to read the first part just to make sure that you have a good foundational knowledge, and then skim part 2 so that you get a good overview of the 5-step system, and then review part 3 so you know what the key areas are that you need to be focusing on, and then going back again to part 2 and studying it in depth and implementing the system step by step to make sure that you get the results that you're after.
Perfect. So, Michael, now that we know the background, the purpose of the book, let's take a deep dive into the content. Really, what I'd like to do is give you the next 5 to 8 minutes to really break down your book so that the reader, or the future reader, knows what they're going to get out of it. Will you do that for us?
Sure. And this book is packed with a lot of information, and I'm going to try to highlight some of the high points in the book so that your readers and the listeners can decide whether this is a book that they should pick up or not. As I mentioned, there are 3 parts in the book, and so let me go through each of the chapters in each of the parts and give you highlights of what the chapters help you accomplish. Now, the chapters in part 1 will help you to learn 5 reasons why many consultants fail in their efforts to find, reach, and win highly qualified clients. And then he goes into the 3 core qualifications that any consultant has to demonstrate in order for their prospects and clients to really trust them and to want to do business with them. That part is definitely critical. That's chapter 2 in part 1. And then the knowledge that's contained in these, as I said before, is really foundational. So at the very least, people want to skim through those. And I'll go through one of the 3 core qualifications in a little bit more detail in just a second. But the chapters in part 2, they outline the system, and I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. And then in part 3 is where you get to apply a lot of what you've learned and then become better at it. Now, the 3 core qualifications that I would say is the highlight of the first part is those are things that when you have to remember that when your prospective clients choose you and your firm over your competition, they're in effect risking their personal and professional reputation, their chances for career advancement, and quite possibly their entire livelihood. So for your prospects and clients, choosing a consulting firm or a consultant is never just a business decision. It's always a personal decision as well. And despite our best effort to focus their attention on our professional competence, it's often those personal character and commitments that we have to them that matters to them the most. So the 3 core qualifications that are highlighted in that chapter are character, commitment, and competence. And these 3 are the qualifications that you can't just merely assert. You really have to demonstrate them from the moment of your first contact with your prospective client until the end of your mutual association with them, wherever that might be. And just to give you a quick overview of what those are, character is essentially, these are the character traits that you can attribute to success as a consultant. There's many character traits that you can go to, but there's 5 that I highlight in the book that are essential, and they are authenticity, integrity, empathy, alacrity, and likability. And commitment is essentially about demonstrating your commitment to your prospects and your clients, that you're willing to add value to their personal and professional lives, and that you're willing to do this, to add this value to them before you request anything in exchange. I think this is very different from what other people experience in the world today. We're in a world where everyone is a taker and they just want something from you. And here you're showing them your commitment by trying to add value to them before you ask for anything in exchange. And lastly, competence is the one that I think a lot of consultants and professionals in general emphasize without fail as their primary means of asserting their abilities and that they're worthy of the client's business, is that they try to show off their competence. And unfortunately, like we said earlier, competence is only one of the 3 things that you need to demonstrate. And essentially, there are 3 categories of things you demonstrate in competence. They're hard skills, soft skills, and consultative skills. And I go into a lot more detail on these in the book, but since we have limited time, I'll just leave it at that. Now, to get a better idea of the 3 core qualifications, consider what would happen if you had commitment and competence, but not character. Then you could potentially be labeled as unscrupulous or untrustworthy or unprincipled. Or if you were able to demonstrate your character but not your competence, then they might consider you to be selfish or inconsiderate or unreasonable. And if you had the ability to demonstrate your character and your commitment, but not your competence, then they would obviously just think of you as unqualified or unfit or unprepared. So that's why those 3 core qualifications are really core qualifications. So that's the first part. Essentially, tries to give you that knowledge and basic understanding of what you need to demonstrate as you go through the system, as you deal with your clients, as you try to figure out which ones are highly qualified and which ones are not. So that's the overview of part 1. Now, part 2 is where we go into the system and really dive into the 5 steps of the system. Now, visualize in your mind a cycle or a series of steps with one part in the middle, one circle in the middle, and 4 circles around it in form of a cycle. And that kind of gives you a visual of what these 5 steps are. The very core step, the one that you have to start with first, is establishing your criteria. And essentially what that is when we talk about that in the book, is the main objective in this step is to develop a clear definition of who you consider to be your highly qualified prospective clients. Now, if you don't have this clear definition, it's one of those things that could essentially lead to ultimate failure, because you don't know who you're chasing, and you would go with the very first client that presents themselves, and that often could be the wrong person. And so in this step, you'll identify the specific criteria that a prospect must meet in order to be considered highly qualified. And then you verify that you can actually articulate the details of that criteria, of the criteria that you've identified, and create a list of potential prospects, which could be individuals or organizations that satisfy those criteria based on the preliminary research that you accomplish. And we'll go into details in that first step. Now, the second step is to evaluate what I call catalysts. Now, the main objective of this step is to select a catalyst with the right qualifications and characteristics to help you reach those highly qualified prospective clients. Now, in this case, catalyst refers to an individual who can facilitate the access to those people without really personally participating in the introduction process. And we go into a lot more details about the qualifications of the catalyst in the chapters that are associated with step 2. Now, in this step, you'll basically learn about the purpose of the catalyst, which is to help you reach those people and to give you information about them that you can't get anywhere else, that is going to be helpful for you to add value to their lives in a meaningful way. You learn about the specific qualifications and characteristics that a catalyst has to possess in order for them to really be an effective person to help you out. And you define a pool of those potential catalysts based on the criteria, and then identify the top 2 or 3 that you're going to engage in the next step to help you reach those highly qualified prospects and clients. Now, step 3 of the process, you engage those catalysts. And the main objective here is to motivate that potential catalyst to facilitate your access to those highly qualified clients and prospects that they know about. And here's where you determine, with their help, with the help of your network and the people that know these individuals, what to offer them that they might find of value in exchange for the help that they're going to provide to you to reach your highly qualified clients. And you also learn how to present your offering of value to that potential catalyst in a way that motivates that person to help you. And this is a critical step in the process, because really the crux of this system is finding someone, a catalyst, that's going to help you find these highly qualified prospects and clients. And in order for you to reach this person, you have to motivate them in such a way that they're going to say, you know what, this person has added value to my life, and therefore I'm willing to help them out. And so we go through that. I've got examples and such in the book that are going to help people figure out how to do this. Step 4 of the system is to elevate yourself above your competition. And the main objective here is to present your highly qualified clients with an offering that adds value to their lives and elevates you above your competition in their mind. So in this step, you seek the assistance of your catalyst, and you identify something that has an exceptional value or exceptional perceived value to those highly qualified clients. and you leverage the catalyst position to help you connect with those people. And once you do make the initial connection, you present your value offering to them in such a way that demonstrates your proficiency in the 3 core qualifications. And this is why understanding the 3 core qualifications is very important, because the clients will start to really judge you from the first instant that you connect with them. And this may be you connect with them without you really knowing. For example, they may be researching you online or whatnot. But that's why understanding what these 3 core qualifications is so critical. So that's the step 4. And finally, step 5 is where you explore opportunities. And the main objective here is to leverage the goodwill that you've cultivated with your potential highly qualified clients to identify and explore the opportunities that you might have to serve them. And this could be, either the opportunities could be either to serve them as a client. It could be opportunities to have them help you reach other prospective clients, or it could also be you collaborating with them to determine how you can serve them and other people in their organization. So it really spans the gamut. But those are the 5 steps. And so that wraps up part 3 of the book, part 2 of the book. And in part 3 of the book, we go through some additional content that basically helps you figure out, now that I've got these 5 steps in place, what are some of the things that I need to be doing on an ongoing basis? And what are some of the systems and strategies that I need to employ to help me automate part of this process and to continuously add value to both my catalyst and to my potential clients, as well as any prospective clients that I have on my list of people that I'm nurturing to become clients of mine. So that in a nutshell is the overall 3 parts of the book.
Excellent. So Michael, we're going to ask you to actually take, I think you said the nutshell, we're going to ask you to now take it down even a step further in this next question. And that's, if the reader can only take away one concept, principle, or action item out of your entire book, everything you just took the time to discuss with us, what would you want that to be?
Well, I'd say it would have to be walking away with a knowledge that business is not geometry. The shortest path to highly qualified clients isn't a direct route. It's not you picking up the phone and calling someone directly. The shortest path to your ideal clients is through someone else who knows them better than you do.
There's some quote-worthy stuff in that, and that's actually our next question. Do you have a favorite quote from your book, and will you take a minute to explain it?
Sure. And I think this is something that I said earlier, and that is that consulting has always been and will always remain a business that is built on personal relationships. And when I say personal relationships, I mean analog relationships, not digital relationships necessarily. So you may have 5,000 contacts on LinkedIn. You may have a network of 5,000 quote unquote friends on Facebook. But really, how many of those are relationships? And consulting has always been based on those relationships, not just the connections. So if there's one thing that I want your readers and listeners to walk away with, that understanding consulting has always been and always will remain a business that is built on those personal analog relationships.
So, Michael, we'll put that in our show notes that people can kind of let that resonate a little bit and go back and reflect on that more later. This next question, obviously, it's not a book-centric podcast if I don't ask you for a book recommendation. And that's, if there was only one book you could recommend based on the way that it's, changed your life, had a huge impact on your life, what book would you recommend?
Yeah, this is a great question. And, a dozen books come to mind. But if I had to pick one more recent that I have read, is a book called Click, The Magic of Instant Connections. It's written by Ram Brafman and Ori Brafman, they're brothers. And it's a wonderful book. I really like the fact that they really show you the magic and the science behind instant connections. And as I just said a minute ago, consulting and what I do is all based on personal relationships, and being able to create that instant connection with people is priceless. And I think this book has been really magical in helping me accomplish that.
How new is that? Is that an older book, or is that fairly new?
No, I'd say that's pretty new. I picked it up actually on Audible, believe it or not, maybe about a couple of months ago. So I'm not sure exactly when it was published, but it was new to me.
Did you mention the author on that? I'm trying to look it up now.
Ram Brafman and Ori Brafman, Brafman.
I found it. Yes, it did. Yes. Yeah, not that long ago, actually, 2011, or at least that's what this is showing here on Amazon. Right. So fantastic. Well, Michael, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to not only get more information on you, but also your book, Never Chase Clients Again?
Sure. They can always go to neverchaseclientsagain.com. That's the website for the book. And the best way to reach me would be through my website. It's michaelmoshiri.com. And of course, I'm all over social media as well. I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. Pretty easy to find. Just type in Michael Moshiri in Google, and I'm usually the first guy that shows up on the list.
Perfect. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your book with us.
Definitely was my pleasure. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the book and let your readers know what they might be able to gain from it.
Thanks again for listening in today. If you'd like more information on Michael or his book, Never Chase Clients Again, check out the show notes at the elpodcast.com.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.